All right, our second test case. We want to return 400 if customer ID is not provided. So back to our test suite. To save time, I'm going to duplicate this test, change the label, should return 400 if customer ID is not provided. Now for this test, first we need an authentication token. You want to make sure that the user is already logged in, but they didn't provide the customer ID. So on the top, we need to load the user class so we can generate an authentication token. So I'm going to duplicate this line, change rental to user, and here as well. So back to our test. In this test, first we generate a token. So token is, we create a new user object and call generate authentication token. And then here, when sending the request, we set this header x-auth-token. We set this to this new token. Now in the body of the request, we're gonna delete the customer ID and then expect to get a 400 error. Now when we save this, we're gonna get a failing test. So let's verify that first. Here's a failing test. Let's double check. We expected to get 400, but we got 401. Because our route handler always returns a 401 error. So now we need to modify this to make both tests pass. So what is the simplest code that we can write to make this test pass? Well, this is the simplest. If request.body.customer ID doesn't have a value, we're going to return response with status 400 with a message like this: customer ID not provided. Okay, that's the simplest code we can write. Don't worry about using joy to validate the body of the request. We can always add that later when we refactor our code. If we have a comprehensive suite of tests, we can always come back here, refactor this implementation, and make it better. So save, back in the terminal, all tests are passing. Beautiful. Now our third test case is very similar to this, but instead of customer ID, we're going to look for movie ID. So I'm going to duplicate this test, change the label, return 400 if movie ID is not provided. And here we simply pass customer ID. Save the changes, back in the terminal. Obviously we have a failing test. Again, let's double check that it's not happening because of a different reason. So we wanted 400, but we got 401. So let's go back and modify our production code. So here in this route handler, I'm going to duplicate this line. And here we check for movie ID. And if it doesn't exist, we're going to return a different message: movie ID not provided. Save, back in the terminal, all tests are passing. Beautiful.